Hare Krishna. We are reading from teachings of Queen Kunti. We have been reading the prayer 13, which is in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Text 30. Of course, it is bewildering, O soul of the universe, that you work, though you are inactive, and that you take birth, though you are the vital force and the unborn. You yourself descend among animals, men, sages, and aquatics. Verily, this is bewildering. So we have been reading the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shilpa Prabhupada, where Kunti Maharani is saying that you are the Supreme Lord, you are unborn, and yet we see that you're coming time and time again, you're appearing as a human being, you're appearing as fish, you're appearing as Lord Nrsimhadev. So what's happening? So it is very contradictory. It seems contradictory. You're unborn and you appear. But then we have to understand that He's the Supreme Lord. So He is inconceivably powerful. And because He is inconceivably powerful, He can do everything inconceivable, which is because it's inconceivable to our mind, which is limited. But the Supreme Lord is not limited. He's unlimited. So in that way, then nothing is bewildering. Nothing is inconceivable for the Supreme Lord because He's unlimited. So we continue reading. In the beginning of her prayers, Kunti Devi said to the Lord, you are within and you are without, but still you are invisible. Krishna is within everyone's heart. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishtaha. Indeed, He is within everything, even within the atom. Andantarastha parmanu chayantrastham. Krishna is within and He is also without. Thus, Krishna showed Arjuna His external feature as the Vishwarup, the gigantic cosmic manifestation. So within and without, how is that? Because Krishna is within every atom. He's within every atom. And He's also within the heart of every living entity. But does it mean that because He as Paramatma, He is there within everything, He is not separate from it? He is. He is. He's still the Supreme Lord is there. So although He has entered into everything as Paramatma, He in his feature as Bhagwan is still there without everything. So that's what we have to understand. He's within everything in His Paramatma feature, and He's without in His personal feature. And thus, Krishna showed Arjuna His external feature as the Vishwarup, the gigantic cosmic manifestation. Krishna showed Arjuna how everything is inside his form. The Vishwarup is what? The whole universe, everything inside. That's why it's called the universal form. This external body of Krishna is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. They are the hills and mountains. There, the hills and mountains are described as the bones of the Lord. So the Vishwarup, the universal form of the Lord, is described in Bhagavatam. The hills and mountains, what are they? They are described as the bones of the Lord. Similarly, the great oceans have been described as different holes in the Lord's universal body, and the planet known as Brahmaloka has been described as the upper portion of His skull. So the hills and mountains are the bones of the universal form. Then the oceans are the different holes in the universal form. Then Brahmaloka is the upper portion of his skull. Those who cannot see God have thus been advised to see Him in many ways in terms of the material cosmic manifestation, according to the instructions given in the Vedic literature. So this universal form of the Lord is there for us to understand that one, everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. All these hills, ocean, the mountains, Who do they belong to? They belong to the Supreme Lord. And if one is not able to understand, is not able to see God, then he's advised, okay, you look at God as this universal form. So, and then gradually, because the Vedic instructions are for everyone, each living entity is on a different level of consciousness. So how to gradually raise one's consciousness is given. Okay, you're not able to understand God as a form, you accept him as a universal form, and then gradually you will be able to understand it. There are those who can simply think of God as being great, but do not know how great he is. So we say, yes, God is very great, God is very great, but how great he is? When they think of greatness, they think of very high mountains, the sky, and other planets. Therefore, the Lord has been described in terms of such manifestations, so that while thinking of these different manifestations, one can think of the Lord. The point is, how can we remember the Lord? We have forgotten the Lord. Now, how do we remember him? So we can also remember him like this, because we are not able to understand how great the Supreme Lord is. So, oh, God is very great. So when we look at great mountains, we look at great oceans. God is so great. Oh, their planets. Oh, God is so great. So that at least we can think of the Supreme Lord. That is also Krishna consciousness. If one thinks this mountain is the bone of Krishna, or if one thinks of the vast Pacific Ocean as Krishna's navel, one is in Krishna consciousness. So the point is to remember Krishna, to remember Krishna. So many people, because, so how they can understand Krishna? Okay, look at nature, look at nature. Look at the clouds, or the clouds are the hair on Krishna's head. The great hills and mountains, they are the bones. These are the bones of the universal form. And then, oh, there's the ocean, or Pacific Ocean is there. Oh, this ocean is Krishna's navel. This is Krishna consciousness. Similarly, one may think of the trees and plants as the hair on Krishna's body. One may think of Brahmalok as the top of Krishna's skull. And one may think of the Patala Lok planetary system as the soles of Krishna's feet. Thus, one may think of Krishna as greater than the greatest, Mahato Mahiyan. So this is how one can understand Krishna as greater than the greatest. All the great things, all the entire universe, the Patala planetary systems are his feet, the soles of Krishna's feet. So like that, if we try to understand, then we are, at least we are remembering Krishna. We are able to understand, oh, how great Krishna is. Why, imagine the Pacific Ocean. How great is the ocean? And that is the navel of the Lord. How small is our navel? And when we look at the ocean, oh, wow, this is such a great, how great is the Pacific Ocean? So how great is Krishna then? And then the hairs on our body, how tiny are the hairs on our body? And then, but the trees and plants are the hairs on Krishna's body. How many trees and plants are there? And then how great is Krishna? These are the hairs on his body. Similarly, one may think of Krishna as smaller than the smallest. That is also a kind of greatness. Now, Krishna, he's unlimited. He is greater than the greatest, but he's also smaller than the smallest. That is his greatness. Not that he's only great. When you're great, when unlimited means, absolute means, he's greater than the greatest, but he's also smaller than the smallest. Krishna can manufacture this gigantic cosmic manifestation, and he can also manufacture a small insect. In a book, one may sometimes find a small running insect, smaller than a period. This is Krishna's craftsmanship. Anor Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan, Katha Upanishad 1-20. He can create something greater than the greatest and smaller than the smallest. So Krishna is creating these great mountains and oceans and hills, but he's also creating these tiny, tiny insects. Tiny insects. Now, human beings have manufactured the 747 airplane, which according to their conception is very big. But can they produce an airplane as small as a flying insect? That is not possible. Actually, greatness, however, is not one-sided. One who is actually great can become greater than the greatest and smaller than the smallest. So Prabhupada is saying, okay, how to understand this? We have created this big aeroplanes which can fly, which, but have we created a tiny, tiny aeroplane as tiny as an insect, a very tiny, we have seen these tiny, tiny insects flying around, but can we make an aeroplane like that? Not possible. So being great means not only one-sided. So great means you can become greater than the greatest and smaller than the smallest. So we'll stop here for today. Kunti Maharani ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for listening in and joining in.